So I just want to say that these Soviet and Soviet style axe heads I've been working on for this part 2 of the Axe Mania video are not purchased from the Soviet Union. They're all purchased from a guy in Ukraine. And as to why I decided to rebuild these old Soviet axes, there's so much mystique around them based on World War II years and prior times. Also, for those of you who've seen the film Happy People, about the life and day-to-day activities of people living in Siberia, you just begin to realise how this is by far the most important tool that they have, and it has very wide-ranging uses in their activities, whether it's building shelters, chopping firewood, making skis, driving in nails, making deadfall traps and the like. So it's almost like a Swiss Army knife, but it's something very rugged and very multifunctional. But for those of you who's followed my axe making, axe restoring videos over the year, one thing you'll know about me is I like to figure out what the best performance of these particular tools are, and I'm particularly interested in head weight versus shaft length, and also the grind that is found on different axes from around the world. So and also, wherever possible, I don't like to spend huge amounts of money, although I do have in my collection, and it's a damn fine axe, is the Toposi Boba axe, which is forged in Siberia. So maybe to compare these axes with those would be a good comparison, because the Boba axes now, if you can get hold of it, is about $313, whereas I think all of these here, none of them were, including buying the material to make the handles, none of them came to more than about $120, $140 Canadian. So let me start by showing this one that I had in the last video. This is, as I said before, this is not a it's not a Soviet axe, but it's a Soviet style axe, because around the time when the masses of Soviet axes were made, there's a big Finnish company called Bilnas, which is this one here, who made an excellent series of axes to be used in Finland, which was a country which depended on citizens producing lots of firewood, and also homesteaders building shelters, so on and so forth. This of course is very wedged. We don't want to talk too much more about that. We've talked a lot about wedged axes over the years, but my experiment, if you like, with this was to go with the more squarer profile axe handle as you may find on a lot of the old Soviet axes, and also you know, it's 3 3/4 pound, maybe started off at 4, but I'm going to say it's a 3 3/4 pound axe on, as you see I marked the base of them here, so it's on a in total with a shaft it's 4.5 pounds, sorry 4.5 pounds, and a 27-inch handmade shaft made out of ash. So we've tried this, we've used it, it's fairly successful. It chops quite well, which I wanted it to do, although it's not a perfect chopping profile obviously, but it chops quite well, and it also splits the kind of rounds that I have up here quite well too. So it's a useful axe, probably a little bit shorter than what some people would associate with an axe of this weight. So this is more typical of what people think of as a Soviet axe, even though I bought this one just as a head from this guy in Ukraine, and I believe this is a Zik pattern axe. There's a slight stamp on there, but I'm not totally sure if that's Zik or not. But they're a big manufacturer of Soviet axes. Again, it's a narrower profile than the other one, and this one weighs up at 4¼ pounds, including the half. So it's probably 3¾ pound head. And this handle is I just made it from a billet of ash, because I'm a big fan of, as you know, of using ash. It's fairly sharp. Probably needs a bit more work on it. I've not used it a lot yet. But you know, when you see axes like this in documentaries or old Soviet films of people living that very kind of rustic, harsh lifestyle, they would use this to prepare huge amounts of firewood for extremely cold winters. So this will be used for splitting firewood. It will be used for limbing trees and all the other tasks that I mentioned earlier. The only thing I would say about it is, oh yeah, in the military they claimed a lot of these axes were capable of chopping through nails, and I've even heard people say they could chop through railway sleepers, well, and they're doing, you know, they are good steel. As you can hear, that really rings like a bell, and you know, a bit like the German axe that I used to have. I'm trying to think of the name of it now. Or the Ochsenkopf axes ring like that, and you know, they're very good steel too. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what we can do with this axe. So this one here, again, this one head has been modified. It was being modified before I bought it, so it would probably be more like the shape of the other one that I've just shown you. But it's again, I made a custom hash shaft for it, and this one weighs out at 3.85 pounds, and it's a 26-inch handle. It's got a nice edge on it. It's a little bit convex, which is okay, and again, it's not a big wedge. But this is more what I would call a working axe. Probably split dry spruce, which is of course you would find a lot of that in the Tiger region of the Soviet Union at the time, and it has a stamp on here and a date of 1977. I'm not sure which of the foundries made this one, but again, ash handle, fairly squarish profile, very thick here, which gives the axe a lot of strength. And the reason I think they did this was that, you know, when they're using these things hard every day, you can pry splits open in logs, so on and so forth, without it breaking off like a lot of the narrow European and American axes. And you know, it does have a palm swell, but it's more rectangular. So this is what I would call a smaller falling axe, or a work axe. You know, good for heavy limbing on trees. So I'm gradually going smaller in size. Now this one I'm particularly pleased to have and quite excited to have. This is this stamp on here, so I'm told, is, maybe better show you that way up, that's better, Trud Vasher, which is quite a legendary Soviet axe maker. This one, including the shaft, which is made of birch, which I made of birch, is £3. It's on a 22-inch handle, which for an axe's size I could well have gone down to 19 or 20, but I wanted this to be a pack axe. I wanted it to be more like a carpenter's work axe, a good little all-round axe. Some people say, well, birch is not as strong as hickory. Cross grain it probably for sure isn't. This is yellow birch, which is the strongest of the birches, but also bear in mind that these are quite thick here, and I've shaped it in a particular way. As you can see, it's quite an unusual shaped handle on this, but it works very well. This has a sharp edge on it too. So this is this would be more of a kind of carpenter or a trapper's axe, if you like. And last but not least, this axe a bit funky looking. It's this has been ground down a lot, probably from probably it started off with something like this, but someone's chosen to really grind it down and lighten it, obviously, but also I mean it wasn't quite this shape when I bought it. I didn't like how it had been ground, so I grounded more off here, so it's more like a tomahawk. For the size of the eye, it's I think it's a 19-inch handle on this. The whole thing weighs 2.9 pounds, so just under 3 pounds. So maybe the head is 1 3/4 pounds or slightly more. But it's an interesting shape. I tend to like axes that kind of fall away to the toe. When you're swinging them, it tends to bite very deep in the wood. So this could be an interesting take on a bushcraft axe. And again, I didn't make the handle for this, but it's looks like it's made of ash. It's very narrow in profile that way, but very deep that way. It's fairly comfortable, but if I'd made it, I'd probably made it a bit different. And again, it's got the 2 wedges in there. One of them's steel, because I didn't have a piece of hardwood at the time to put the second wedge in. And again, that's got a lovely stamp on there. And that might be Ishtal, I-Z-H-T-A-L, possibly, but again, there are some articles online if people are interested in looking at the origin of these old Soviet axes. Yeah, the old babushka's winter splitting axe. Splitting birch. That's it. it. Don't know how it's going to do with this. Yeah, it's a bit too convex, but yeah, you could square a log down with a big log. You hear it ringing as you chop. Yeah, so we'll give it a grade on that one for sure. It's hard to stick in logs as well. That was done now. Let's try the Trude Vasher. Yeah, it's a lot better. That's pretty good. And there's a little bit of there you go. Sharp, but it's a little bit convex for what I'm trying to use it for. If it's about the right weight, it's good. It's not really a splitting axe profile, but it's quite thick here, so if the blade penetrates into the wood, gets to here, it'll force it apart, right? Yeah, not a bad little pack axe. Yeah, so to take a week break between the first part of the vid and this final part, because I've had the fires in the Shuswap, which is close to where I live, and the air outside has been absolutely terrible. You could probably notice on the last video I'm kind of struggling to breathe and all my sinuses are all messed up, right? So anyway, thankfully I seem to be on top of that now, and it's given me time to rework the edge on this 4 1/4 pound well, I jokingly called a babushka's axe with a 21-inch handle on it. So yeah, I've just flattened out the convex on it a bit, so let's see how that does. Yeah, it's a lot better. Will it but shave down on a log? I don't know. Let's see. certainly better. But it's a bit heavy for a one-handed axe. But it'll work with two hands for sure. So yeah, so the final one is this little guy here. This little this little modded axe here, which is 2.9 pounds, including half 19-inch handle. Let's move that one out of the way. Oh yeah, that one really bites in the wood. You can use it two-handed as well. That's very good actually. So I've got this. Yeah, that's better than the big one, certainly one-handed. Yeah, it's okay for limbing medium-sized small trees, or I would say limbs up to 2 inches diameter. It's heavy enough. So yeah, not a bad little tool. Just going to try it splitting. Yeah, it's right for splitting small logs as well. Sure, this is going to work out. About 6-inch diameter. Not so good. One more try. Oh. That's it. Okay. Of course, over time, depending on which ones I use, I'll probably use this little guy here, one I call like a funky bushcraft axe. I'll certainly use the Trudvasher because that was, you know, I was committed to making something that is a very effective cutting tool, and I was pleasantly surprised with what I referred earlier to this as a working axe. I think the haft length is as good as I could get it. It's where I want it. The weight's about right. I think it was 2.88 just the head, so just over 2 3/4 pounds. Working axe. I like this little hook on here because it helps you turn logs over. If you're chopping on the ground, you know, you can kind of use it a bit like a picaroon, you know. And yeah, I mean it's a strong axe. The handle's pretty good. The grind is actually slightly convex and it chops very good. It can be made to chop even better. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Thanks for supporting and subscribing to my channel, and I also welcome comments, and yeah, stay safe. We've just come out of the worst of the fire season here in southern BC, and it's been pretty awful this last week or two, and my sympathy goes out to those who's lost properties or loved ones in some cases, and I'm also grateful for the work that the firefighters have done. In the past I've spent some time firefighting on private properties, and it's not an easy job, and so I take my hat off to everybody who's been part of overcoming these considerable challenges. Take care now.